In this episode, we discuss our favorite products and trends revealed at the 2024 CES Expo in Las Vegas, Nevada.
This is TWiP.
Hey folks, welcome back to our first joint 2024 episode of This Week in Photo. I'm your host, Frederick Van Johnson. Joining me today is my co-host, Alastair Jolly. We're going to be discussing some of our favorite announcements coming out of the recently concluded, as of last week, CES Expo 2024. Lots of interesting stuff and a lot of stuff omitted, or a lot of areas of activity weren't very active. Alastair, Happy New Year. Welcome back, man. How's it going?
Hey, Frederick. How are you? Good to see you.
Great. Yeah. Good to see you too.
Good. Back on the show. Excited to be here.
How did you feel about this expo? Like looking at it, or this recent one? You remember CES of years gone by used to be like, it used to be like Macworld. Apple used to exhibit at CES back in the day. It used to be the thing to get hip on all the newness, and now it didn't really feel like that. It felt a little, and every year feels like it's a little vertically oriented now. Like before, a couple years ago, it was crypto, and then before that, it was 360 TVs, and later it was NFTs and all that, and VR, and now this year it's AI. We have a new acronym, and not a whole lot of photography stuff. There's a couple I put on the list for us to talk about, but not a whole lot. What do you think about that? Or did I miss a whole expo hall or something?
That was a great summary. Thanks. That was a great conversation. That was it. My number one feeling from CES this year was underwhelmed. There was just nothing super exciting. Maybe we're just getting too used to incredible technology moving at a fast pace. That fast pace was all about AI. That's, everything was AI. It was all about every brand announcing their either, new AI feature or stepping into AI or announcing something coming soon. But from a photographer perspective, there was just nothing. There was nothing that blew my socks off. It wasn't even any good teases that, things to come. A little bit flat after CES.
Yeah, I agree. And I kind of think about it, like Steve Jobs used to say, we don't know what we don't know. Or I don't know, who was it? We don't know what we don't need, or whatever, something to that effect. And I look around at the sort of the state of technology in my life right now, the things that I use on a daily basis, all the tools that let me get what I need to get done. And I don't feel like I'm wanting in a whole lot of areas. Like, my life would be complete if I only had this, right? We've got these super cameras and little glass and our computers with M processors in them. And like, what do you need, Alastair, as a photographer? Like, what were you like, I wish Fuji would have come out with the so-and-so thing that would have made my life amazing, but they didn't, so I'm sad. Like, was there anything?
Like, the one thing I think many of us would say that we really need is time. Like, that's the thing that's missing. I have all the toys, I have all the tools, I have all the power, all the processing. I have it all.
Yep.
Physically need time to go do it, and that's not the tech company's solution, job to find a solution for that. But that's what I need. I'm not sitting here wishing someone would launch an exact thing. The Pixel War is done. Like, for years, we've sat around saying, I wish the pixels were bigger. I wish the sensor was bigger. I wish the resolution was better. For me, that's done. Like, for the last good number of years, that battle is over, right? We're not sitting around waiting for somebody launching a better sensor that we desperately need. Like, we're always going to enjoy an improvement in sensor technology, but there's nothing holding me back now other than time. So I guess that's it. Maybe I'm not excited about the expectation of something that's going to radically change my life. Funny, I have a conversation with someone recently about, our kids' generation, what is it that's really going to blow their socks off? Technology is moving at such a pace. You and I were blown away with 1080p resolution on the telly. That was incredible. And then 4K came along. What is it that's going to blow the socks off kids nowadays? It's going to have to be something like teleporting or something, something we can't even imagine, because what is there that they can't already foresee or already have? The computers they have in their pockets, are just incredible nowadays. So it's going to have to be something pretty behemoth to get the kids excited. So I'm not surprised that you and I are a little bit flat after last week, hoping that something magical was going to be announced when there wasn't really anything there.
Yeah, there wasn't. Yeah, well said. Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head. The gift of time, right? That's the thing that we're all missing, or that's the one thing you can't get more of or get back, right? It's that precious commodity. But to that end, I don't know. I feel like kids today, like mine, they've grown up sort of marinating in technology, right? My daughter was speaking to the ALEXA thing, amongst her first words. She was having conversations with that thing. So since she's been alive, she's been understanding and kind of internalizing what an AI is and what a personal assistant is. I think from that lens, for those people, the next level would be simplification. Right? Because you and I, before we started, we were talking about that new Rabbit device that was announced at CES. And we'll talk about that a little bit, not too much. But that thing, it's a handheld device that purports to, be the next version of how we interact with data. Like, it's going to replace our phones, because just from a high level, I encourage you, I'll link to the video in the show notes, but I encourage people that are listening and watching this to go check out their announcement video. But it was essentially, this is an oversimplification, but it has created a language model or a model that sits atop your applications on your phone, whether you're on Android or iOS or whatever, so that then you can now speak to this device and it will go do things to the accounts or do things with the accounts that you're authenticated against. So kind of like an in-between, like an Ask Jeeves back in the day, where, hey, I just want you to do this, and it'll just spin up and go, oh, I have access to Frederick's TWiP, so I can do this. I have access to Frederick's whatever, Expedia, so I can book tickets and do all the things. So I think that's one of the next steps, right? The simplification. We live in this attention deficit economy. Like, give us some of our attention back. That's one. And then, the other side is, I think you and I talked about it a while back, under the context of the swing back towards film and simpler things that are easier to authenticate than like trying to figure out if an AI image is real or not. Here's a negative, and here's a print that I made. It's one of one. It is an NFT in and of itself. Here you go, right? So that, you can't discount that. And you were born of that world, right? I mean, before we started, you were talking about how you used to shoot film on Hasselblad, doing weddings on Hasselblad. That's the real deal, right? Don't you feel like a shift back to that might inject some much needed authenticity into the conversation? Or I don't know, or is it just too much of a pain in the butt to go back to film?
Oh, well, I think it's a pain in the butt going back to film. I find it a pain in the butt going back to vinyl, but my son's fanatical about vinyl at the moment. We're seeing this huge growth in analog photography, which we've spoke about on previous episodes. You and I were even talking recently about, there's a huge growth in people trying to find analog typewriters and typing physical letters to send to people. And I wonder if it's just a way of separating yourself from the noise. Like right now, if you were to type a letter and send it to someone, you'd be one of the few people doing that. So you'd be unique in a sense doing that. So I think there's, a push to be unique using more traditional technology, but also I think there's a longing for that, physical analog hands-on creativity that we had for many, many years. So I think that's where that's coming from. No, I have no desperate rush to go back to film. I have no desperate rush to spend the type of money you have to spend nowadays to get a roll of film processed and developed. But I've been through that. I've been there. I've done that part. I don't have a desperate need to try it or do it again. But I can certainly understand why. There's a growing genre of people going back to that. There's nothing more magical than taking a photograph, taking a piece of white paper, putting it in some chemicals and watching a picture appear. Like, I don't think people, unless they've done it, can physically grasp just how magical that is to see a picture appear on a white piece of paper. And then if it's your first exposure, typically disappear again as it gets completely overexposed. But, it's still pretty magical for a few seconds as the picture appears on that white, piece of paper when you're in the darkroom. But yeah, the Rabbit AI thing, that it's interesting, like digital assistant type technology. Will it get us time back? Computers were meant to give humans the gift of time, right? That's why we invented computers, and it didn't work. It hasn't given us the gift of time. It's just, in many ways, sucked time from us. Is AI going to change the nature of things? Or are we just going to fill that gap with more technology rather than using that gift of time to go do something creative? A little bit skeptical about how something like the Rabbit might weave itself in there, and then how long it's another device, right? The Rabbit's a physical piece of hardware, which I was surprised at when we were seeing announcements about having a digital assistant that can do all these things with all your apps, and then to realize it was a physical piece of hardware, that kind of surprised me a little bit. But surely that's going to get swallowed up quickly by the hardware manufacturers just building it into their own hardware eventually.
Yeah, and that's where I come in now, because I look at what Rabbit is trying to do, which they're like, again, their demo is fantastic, and it's like they managed to reignite that Steve Jobs reality distortion feel a little bit when you're watching it. You're like, where's my credit card? I need to get this thing, and it's only $200. That's the other thing. So, price perception or race to the bottom. But yeah, looking at that, and then looking at my first one of the picks that I have for the CES roundup is, well, just a couple of things. Is Apple announced their release date for the Apple Vision Pro, which is going to be next month as we record this in February 2024, which is interesting. Again, $3,000 some odd device, which is going to push it up to elites, reviewers, and developers, right, for now. And then the trickle down, hopefully there'll be a cheaper device later, which we'll see. But that was interesting. And then the other piece of it, along with that release date, with Sony threw their hat in the ring, right? And they're, of course, right? Every time Apple releases something, Sony comes out with something similar, especially
their
big,
spatial,
right?
what was it? Spatial Content Creation System.
Yes.
The SCCS.
Yes. Yeah, so spatial is the buzzword for 2024, I'm guessing, right? Everything's going to be spatial or AI or
spatial awareness, spatial sound, spatial visuals, spatial sound, spatial this, spatial that.
All of it.
When you're saying you were desperately you wanted to reach for your credit card to buy the Rabbit, are you desperately reaching for your credit card to buy the
No.
The Apple Vision Pros at $3,500?
No, I can't. I cannot justify buying that right now. But I said the same thing about many other technologies that I now own. So
who is gonna justify it? Who's the early adopters? Okay, the tech review world. They're all gonna get them to review, whether they buy their own or get samples or whatever. But where's the actual use case? Who are the first adopters that are going to put down hard cash for this thing?
Yeah, that's the thing. Because we're a 2 MetaQuest household, and we have 2 MetaQuests that haven't been used in a long time, right? We used them a lot when we first got them. Nicole was playing what's that, Beat Saber daily,
Oh, yeah.
you know, and I'm just kind of roaming around watching movies and hanging out in there, and the shine wore off, right? And I think a lot of that shine wore off because of how uncomfortable that particular device is. Who knows what Apple's is going to be, right? But that one, over time, for me at least, the way my head is shaped, it just got uncomfortable and sweaty and just, you know, and then a little disorientation. It's like, okay, this is fun, but I can't do it. If I can't see spending my entire workday with a headset on at this point.
No,
Not
I can't
that
imagine.
headset. Maybe Apple's headset will be something different. Maybe it's got an air conditioner in there or something. But I don't.
It'll be interesting to see what they do with the you know, this kind of motion sickness, nausea type thing that people get typically with headsets. You know, we've got the Meta Quest in the house, you know, a four person household, half of which feel nauseous after 10 minutes, you know. So it'll be interesting to see how the I'm sure Apple might, you know, will have some approach to lessening that. But for me, I think the question who's going to be, you know, to answer the question about who's going to be the early adopters on day one that are actually going to use it for something, I think it's probably going to be those, you know, commercial entities that are looking to view construction sites, engineering, the movie makers trying to use it in that sense from this kind of spatial awareness, use of space, spatial visualization of creative technologies. And I think that's where Sony's announcement sits squarely. I think they are going after the high-end engineering type solution. When you did you watch their video where they're sitting in the Formula One car building the steering wheel? It's plastered with Red Bull all over the video. Red Bull are partners with Siemens in the Formula One, and Sony have partnered with Siemens to make this headset, this spatial content creation system. So I can see that I think Apple's looking at the more kind of business, tech, engineering side. I think Sony's gone after the kind of more science, engineering, technology side. You know, I could maybe even medical use case, but certainly I can see the Formula One, you know, these mega sports with mega amounts of money, you know, the big yacht races, you know, these technologies where they're building virtual models and stuff, you know, stress testing things before they even go into service. I think that's really where Sony's going to target this device. This isn't a gaming device that I can see. It's not a consumer device by any means. Purely from my watch of that very small initial release of it, they may have other things in mind, but it looks like a very high-end sort of technology device.
All of it, yeah. I mean, that space, it feels like Meta came along with the Meta Quest and that $300 price point that it's at and kind of established the bottom, I guess, you know, for these kinds of headsets and what the least that you can pay for it is. And now Apple
and their app store was all games.
All games,
Quest,
for the most part,
all games. Yeah,
all games.
Very few. Certainly no business type things at that point with the Quest and the Quest 2. They're obviously moving in that direction now, but mostly gaming, some social collaboration type stuff. But they certainly set their benchmark as a consumer priced gaming. I don't think Apple and Sony are thinking consumers at this point with these releases.
But it's interesting you say that, right? Because all of Apple's marketing material is squarely pointed at consumers. It's entertainment. It's, you know, hey, you got a big 100-inch flat screen sitting in front of you while you watch your Apple TV Plus shows. You know, there was some enterprise in there where they showed people working in office type apps with them on this giant screen and all that. But even those were consumers. Whereas it's interesting because you look at Meta with the Meta Quest, even though, like you pointed out, the App Store is largely entertainment and gaming and all that, their demos tend to be enterprise. It tends to be, hey, look at these people hanging out with their coworkers instead of in Zoom. They're got the headsets on, right? So there's a disconnect there. Like, who's doing what? I feel like Apple's playing close to their vest a lot, right? And because this is so new, and Apple is historically known for swooping in after a technology is already established, like phones and tablets and headsets and all that, and then just coming in and saying, hey, hold my beer, boom, and showing what a high-end crafted experience might be with that particular vertical. Maybe they're doing that here as well maybe they're doing it here and using the learnings from iPhone and all their other data around how people consume things, and of course using their core competencies and operating systems and chipsets and all the things to kind of bring them to bear on this one new category device, which, if you look at the data from Meta, should fail. Right? At least by Apple's standards. Apple's, they're used to hitting home runs all the time. This one, I don't know. There's price concerns, there's content concerns, there's all kinds of stuff. For me, that's my pragmatic podcaster hat. If I take that off and put on my irrational exuberance hat, I can't wait to try it. I want it. I want it right now. I want to play with it. Even if it sucks, I want to play with it because it's historic. This is an Apple device like none before. So, I don't know. We'll see.
No, I agree with all that. I definitely think those early adopters are going to be the business use cases. I've got colleagues who, love to work with, 3-4 large screens. Suddenly you look at the price of 3-4 monitors, you're suddenly getting close to the price of, that kind of display. Is it comfortable enough to do that?
Right.
Or you look at home cinema. You look at the kind of price you could spend on a projector, high end, 4K, 8K projector. You spend way more than you would spend on one of these. But this is a single person device. Like home cinema isn't typically for multiple people. So. Yeah, I can see the work environment. I can see people buying it, the business buying people these headsets. I think we're a ways off from a consumer unit. But, people are dropping 2K on iPhones now. So who am I to know where this is going?
That is true. Yeah, I'm excited. So, we'll see. 2024 should be really interesting from a standpoint of where AI is going. By this time next year, I'm sure it'll be a completely different landscape in the AI world, where VR and AR and XR are going, because we'll have the Apple Vision, we'll have had it for a year, and competitors will have come and gone and all that. So we'll have much more data. Right now, we're just in that, I feel like we're in that, the night before Christmas mode. We know there's gifts under the tree with our name on it, but we have no idea what's in there, right? And we cannot wait and can't sleep. So,
I don't know. New toys. I look forward to our first episode where we're both wearing one. It'll be a strange one, but
good luck with that.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing I want to talk about in this from Canon. I don't know. Were you ever a Canon shooter in your previous life? I know you shot Hasselblad and Nikon.
Hasselblad, Nikon, now Fujifilm. I have used Canons. I've used them a lot. I've never been an owner. I've used various loaners and stuff, but I put all my eggs in the Nikon basket. It's like once you get a piece of glass, it's hard to jump ship. So I'm familiar with using a lot of Canon gear. But that said, I've never used a SPAD camera before.
Do explain. So that's in our notes. What to the best of your ability, what is a SPAD camera? SPAD.
Yeah, well, I love that it stands for single photon avalanche diode. I had to look at notes. There was no way I was going to remember avalanche. Avalanche just sounds cool. I want one of those too, right? It sounds really cool. It's a single photon avalanche diode. It sounds. I'm not in any way up with the science of this, but reading the notes, it basically sounds like the ultimate opportunity for a camera to see in extremely, extremely, extremely low light. And be able to capture photons at a resolution that maybe even the human eye can't recognize, and I think that's what this is doing. It's capturing super single photons of light at a resolution that we've not seen before. Sounds like the technology's maybe been around for a while, but now they're kind of getting it into, rather than taking up a whole room, getting into a camera body size and something that even has an interchangeable lens on it, so.
Yeah, I read that a couple times, just trying to understand what the nugget is of what this thing is, what this technology SPAD is doing, and my brain tries to put it in this, like, based on their description, my brain is basically saying, oh, this is ray tracing. So they're putting ray tracing into a consumer-ish or prosumer or enterprise level device. And if you don't know what ray tracing is it's the I don't know, science technology. It's when computers can track the path of a photon and predict how it's going to react to any of the surfaces in its path and where it will end up and how it's going to scatter and all that. Every single photon in a scene, it can map that. In fact, who are those guys that created that camera that was doing that? God, who was it? It was a little tube. I can't remember. Anyway, I'll remember for the end of the episode, hopefully, or I'll put it in the notes. But anyway, it tracks every photon that's emitted. This camera or this SPAD sensor can track and predict where it's going to go. And it says, I'm reading the notes here, it says, it's capable of capturing images of objects in color during the dead of night at distances of a mile and beyond.
Yeah.
A mile.
Crazy distance. Right? A mile in color as well, right? Yeah. So, yeah, just way beyond what the human eye. I mean, I can't see things a mile away in the middle of the day, let alone the dead of night. So, yeah, incredible. Bless you. An incredible.
I tried to mute.
He missed the mute button. Again, it sounds like high-end science hardware with lots of perhaps medical use already. It certainly sounds something that's going to have a lot of military potential, which I'm sure is probably what's spearheading this technology, where you're going to have your Apache pilot in his helicopter looking at a heads-up display coming through a SPAD camera that's capturing images from a mile away in color, right? That's probably where this kind of technology is being driven. It's where a lot of technology gets its funding from initially. Why though? Why, Frederick? What's the use case? What do you need to photograph a mile away right now in color?
Nothing.
And that's what left me flat about it. That was why I came away from the weekend going, yeah, look, it's super impressive technology, but I'm a photographer. What? I don't get it. Maybe, there's some interesting, conceptual art or fine art type technologies, but, is this going to help me take a portrait of someone? Why? I wouldn't be taking a portrait of someone a mile away. I wouldn't be taking a landscape picture a mile away. Why not? If I'm going to be an outdoor landscape photographer, I want to be in the landscape. I want to be there, experiencing it, not a mile away. And that's why it feels like it's sniper technology.
Totally.
I'm sure there's a use case that's going to trickle down till eventually someone's going to tell me, well, it helps your autofocus work faster in lower light, and that's maybe the spin-off from it. But as a single technology, it left me flat. I'm not that excited about it.
I agree. 100%. I agree. When I read that, I thought, two things. Just what you said. This is not for photographers. This is for people that are looking to target things, right? 100%. That are far away. So that's one thing. I would love to hear a counter to that. So if you listeners, viewers, if you have a counter to that, let us know in the comments, because I'm curious. Like Alastair said, what is the use case for this tech? The other piece of it, though, Alastair, I was thinking science fiction. Like, we're building better than our eyes for upcoming robots that are going to be AI, GPT driven, and superhuman vision and strength and agility. T1000, right? We're building T1000's retinas. That's what this is.
Yeah, quite possibly.
Or surveillance, right? This is surveillance from a mile up. you can resolve what's on the ground, with your drone, whether you're government or not, and get a saleable image. Looking at this description, one of the things that made me go in that direction was it says the technology is a photo counting technique that's been in development for decades. Canon's prototypes of the SPAD sensors based around its 3.2 megapixel chip are some of the highest resolution examples and have accomplished impressive party tricks like capturing the movement of light as it travels through smoke. Right? And all this at these ridiculous distances. Again,
seen through fog.
No creative is going to find a need for that I can think of, unless you're surveilling or doing something like that.
I would say creatives in general can somehow find a way to utilize everything, right? The mediums that we've used and experimented with. There's going to be somebody out there, some super creative person that's going to find a really incredible use case scenario for this. But for the mainstream photography industry, I don't know. It just didn't excite me. We've got to remember Canon, Nikon, many other brands, Fujifilm, they're not just, camera manufacturers. They are optical manufacturers. They have huge, massive budgets in the medical world. They have huge budgets in, science, military, all that type of stuff. So although it says Canon's bringing out another camera, I don't think we should automatically assume and jump that, this is going to be another exciting opportunity for the consumer and the art photographers amongst them. It may be that they have no intention of this ever being bought by, a landscape photographer or whatever, but it may end up in some, magnifying telescope for a space mission or something,
Right, yeah, exactly. It may end up in the next, James Webb telescope or something, who knows. Yeah, it's technology. All right, well, let's move on with
cool,
whatever it is cool. We'll see. Your favorite from CES. Do you have any favorites out of there, or is it just like wah, wah,
It really was wow. I hate to say it, there was nothing. There's nothing tangible, right? There was lots of hints and allegations and teases of things, but nothing that you could say, oh, I'm excited. Like Nikon, I mean, there's talk of the Z9H, but again, it was rumors and nothing official from the brand themselves. So. The things that you could probably have guessed were probably going to come. We knew there was going to be an improvement to the Z9 coming. So the fact that it's teased or rumored is no big surprise, but there was nothing physical to get that excited about. I can't, honestly, nothing. Probably one CES where I didn't say, oh, I'm going to put that on my list. There was nothing I've added to my list of things I want. I hate to sound so negative about it. We're at the start of the year. CES is always super, super early in the year, right? Which is a good thing, is a bad thing. Camera manufacturers all now have strange cycles of production cycles. Some don't even have a cycle, right? We're kind of familiar with Apple's cycle of when they're going to launch stuff throughout the year, but camera manufacturers have been, pretty erratic over the last few years, especially, with, supply issues with products and chips and materials and that type of stuff. So who knows when things are going to get announced now throughout the year. We've still got trade show season within the photography world kicking off with some of the kind of trade events coming up over the next couple of months. But I don't see camera manufacturers being beholden to these events the way they used to be. They can launch whenever they want with throwing their own events or, putting lots of money behind the social marketing of these events. So maybe we should get used to not being so blown away by CES every year, which is sad, but that's maybe the way things are moving.
Yeah, we got to have something to tell our grandkids. And in my day, we used to have trade shows, and they were big, and we had. And now we have
listen,
web pages.
forget the grandkids. I already tell my kids that, because back in the Photokina every 2 years in Germany was when you had some of the biggest announcements ever from camera manufacturers. It was the trade show. It's gone, doesn't exist anymore. We're seeing less and less footfall through the more traditional trade shows for photography throughout the year. So I think the smart brands are just taking that budget and doing their own cool marketing around whatever suits their manufacturing cycle, rather than trying to fit into a box to have it ready for CES. Yes, look, there's no doubt there's huge opportunities at CES because the entire world's media are there, but I don't think it's the be all end all for a brand to have to launch at CES anymore.
Yeah. Well, those days are gone. Let's wrap up with some outside of CES picks, our picks of the week segment. So anything that you want to recommend at this beginning of the year that people should consider looking at, or that you just found ridiculously interesting, you want to share it with the TWiP crowd?
I found this ridiculously fun. It's a shame that I discovered it after holiday season, because it would have been a great gift. I'm not even sure if it was launched, but then I think it's launched pretty recently. But there's a really fun little campaign brand collaboration between Lego and Polaroid at the moment, and you can now build your own little Polaroid camera, which comes complete with exposed Polaroid film with it as well. Lego are going hard after the adult, builders. They have. I don't know if you're familiar. Lego has a section that they call AFOLs. Are you familiar with this, Frederick?
No, I don't think so.
AFOLs.
No.
Do you know what an AFOL is? No. AFOL is an adult friend of Lego. So AFOL, an adult friend of Lego, because their huge growth area is in adults buying Lego. Well, who else can afford a $1,000 Death Star, right? It's typically adults that are building these. So they're spending a lot of money now, moving towards being able to build plants out of Lego, and pieces of artwork for your walls. Older guys like you and I wanting to build, Lamborghinis out of Lego and spend $600 on it, that type of thing. So they're definitely going after the older audience pretty hard. And this kind of nostalgia trip in partnership with Polaroid, I thought was pretty fun, pretty cool. It would look good on my shelf.
Yeah, that's interesting. When you first showed me this, I was thinking, oh, does it actually take photos? Can you really?
Could you imagine if you could actually do it? Can't be, there can't be that many moving parts inside the Polaroid camera. It would be kind of fun to get them inside a Lego kit. When I first saw it, that was actually what popped to my mind. It was like, oh, really? A working? No, it's just a building thing, but still pretty cool.
Yeah,
fun little thing. Yeah.
So you're gonna get one?
Yeah, I think so. It's gonna go on my list.
Of course. Yeah. My big brother is a what do you call it? Adult friend of Lego. He's he likes to build the cars. So he has a Jay Leno type installation of Lego cars in his place in Chicago. So
that's pretty cool. You go visit a Lego store, and the price of some of these kits, wow, impressive.
Been there.
Huge amounts.
Yeah. My daughter is a Lego person, and she scoffs at anything that says under 18 and under 2,000 pieces, and she's 10. So it's like, and you know what that means cost-wise, right? That's it's not cheap at all.
But we have a house full of Lego. We have like buckets and buckets and buckets of Lego that was once mine as a kid. I can't even imagine how many hundreds of thousands of pieces of Lego. But now it's all about buying these specific kits where back in my day, back when I was a kid, you got given a design and you had to build it yourself from the pieces you had. Now you have to buy the kits, and it's just putting together the shape. I don't know. It's losing a little bit of its excitement.
It's a problem, man. For me, I mean, this is a complete non sequitur and off topic, but like when you don't have a giant mansion, you know, with a display room to show all your Lego constructions, what do you do with these massive things after they're done?
Yeah.
you know, like living and paying, you know, a mortgage to house your Lego. Like what?
Yeah.
What do you do with them? You know,
I realized
rebuild stuff. Like what?
I realized we're just sounding like two old grumpy guys today. Like, you know, I wasn't excited about CES. Forgive me, but you know, I do like the Polaroid piece of Lego. So let's you know, what about your pick? Have you got something super exciting that's going to make us all like, oh yes, this is great, and I can't wait to buy that? And
No, it's been like that for me too. Yeah, usually I have a pick, but usually my pick is like, oh, look at this thing I just got. You got to get this because it's ridiculous. Maybe that will come soon, but no, I haven't. There hasn't been anything that has like knocked my socks off. That has been, well, hardware for sure. Some software things have knocked my socks off, you know, particularly in the AI space. You know, like 11 Labs comes to mind. We've talked about them with their AI voice generation. It's just incredible, some of the things. And I look at these technologies as they start showing up in little bits, like voices here and realistic face rendering here and holding a conversation and crossing the uncanny valley, or the, you know, it just, all that stuff feels like it's all pointing to a direction of Data from Star Trek coming to life. You know, ultimately we're going to have these entities that we can have maybe they won't be robots, but we'll have these entities that we can have full on conversations with that feel every bit as real as a human, like Her with Scarlett Johansson and Joaquin Phoenix, right? I feel like that is on the horizon. So
apparently we're going to be talking to rabbits. But anyway, what's your pick? What are we going to?
My pick is this OWC card reader, which has shifted the way that I deal with data on my laptop. So this guy here. So this is the OWC, and I'll put a screenshot up. This is the OWC Atlas FXR, and in this one I have a 2 terabyte CF card stuck in there. And the reason that this has changed, here you go, this is how it comes out. The reason that this has changed the way that I do things, Alastair, is because for several years prior to this, I've basically taped a 2 terabyte SD card to the back of my MacBook Pro and plug it in, and that's where all TWiPs get edited. Any current projects I'm working on happen on an external drive. It was a solid state SSD. I've moved to removable now, so it just as fast or faster. This card is 3,650 megabytes per second. Is that megabytes or megabits? On the read, and on the write, it's 3,000. So this is faster than the drive that I've been using forever, which was a SanDisk drive. But this gives me the flexibility of being able to swap in and swap out, and I leave one of these attached to the back of the computer at all times, which is great. So it's kind of changed how I do things. So instead of like, because I have 2 of these now, I have one on the desk and one connected to the computer. Now I just pull this thing out and go, and everything's good. And this
super
obviously
tiny
goes in the Nikon
SSDs
as well.
Yep.
Yeah, SSD. So yeah, this is the OWC Atlas FXR, and it's built like a tank. Very simple. One side your card goes in, the other side your USB-C port, you know, and that's it. And it just works. Made out of, feels like a single piece of milled aluminium. But it's great. USB 3.2, and it works. I've been using it for months and months, and it is the best upgrade that I've used for this MacBook. My MacBook doesn't have a whole lot of storage in it to begin with. It's a corporate MacBook, right? So it's not loaded and specced out to the gills as I would if I was buying it. But with this, I'm there. I get everything I need with just this, and I feel like I'm a little safer.
You can't update MacBooks now. You can't add more storage to them because it's all soldered in. But you know, that's good because it takes away, it gives you the flexibility of leaving the the reader there, but swapping cards back and forward rather than being stuck with an SSD permanently on that. It's pretty cool. I'll check it out. I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, so I'll share that as my pick, and then also just as a stocking stuffer pick, on the back of my MacBook Pro, I have a little drive holder that's stuck on there with kind of that, the gecko removable film, but that's on there, and I just basically slide this drive into it. I have a short right angle cable that plugs in. Let me show that. So this is a right angle cable that plugs into the side of my MacBook Pro. We put on some contrast. There you go, right there. And then the other end to the drive. And I'll link this cable as well, because this is an aftermarket cable. But that cable, that drive, and with the little thing that sticks on the back of the MacBook Pro, done. Everything I need, all my data is there. It's all backed up. Everybody's happy. So cool. Man,
excellent. Well, hopefully next week we'll be back with a super exciting, pumping episode of things that we're excited to get our hands on and try and talk about. But yeah,
hey, it's real.
Not this week
reality.
After CES.
We don't make stuff up here. It's reality. This is how we're feeling. So, yeah, hopefully there'll be some exciting stuff to chat about next week. So we'll leave it there. Alastair, thank you again. I'm looking forward to a year of great conversations like this as we press forward. And, as you know, I'm going to try to introduce other voices into this conversation as well. So it won't always just be you and I. Sometimes it'll be you and I and another person that is related to the topic du jour for that week. So, yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Got lots of good stuff planned. Hey, one last thing. You know about this. Coming up next month, someone's having a birthday. We're going to start teasing as we lead up to this. Who's having a birthday that we know? Somebody in the family. I don't know. Who is it?
I think they're turning 20.
20 years old. Yes. Yes. Our friends.
Just a youngster.
Just a youngster. Yeah. Our friends over at Flickr are hitting their 20th. So that'll be next month, and we're doing some special stuff. You'll hear about it here on the podcast and on the website, and of course, everywhere related to Smug Mug Flickr. But there's some special stuff going down next month. So keep your ear to the ground as it comes closer, because the Flickr team is abuzz with activity. So
and you might have an opportunity to catch up with Frederick and I in real life somewhere around the world. So
where could that be? A hint. I'm not leaving my state, right?
Or me.
Or you. Yeah. Cool, man. All right, Alastair. Thanks again, man. It's always a pleasure doing this.
Okay, cheers, buddy.
Yeah, you have a good one, and I will see you next week, my friend.
This is TWiP.